Okay, good evening, everyone. This is Akin Olashure, live on Facebook, and tonight I am going to be speaking on something very, very interesting, something that you don't want to miss. It's a very important topic in real estate. Tonight I'll be talking about how your C of O can be rubbish and your property taken. How your C of O can be rubbish and your property taken. You see, I so much believe in title. You know, your title is the security that you have, or one of the security you have is a title that you have on your property. And so much that it's very necessary that you get a good title on your property. If you're buying property, make sure it's a property that has a very, very good title. Yeah, title is good, especially C of O and governance concept. This is one of the most powerful title or good title that you can have in real estate when you're buying land or property or houses. You know, you just make sure that it has C of O or governance concept. Though in one of the show, I talked about C of O versus GACET, and tonight I will not be going there. But I want to tell you a little bit about C of O. You know, C of O is issued by the government or the state government, and is given to you to occupy the place. It's called certificate of occupancy, which is given to you to occupy a place for a period of 99 years, and is one of the good document or title that you can have when you are buying a property. But the truth is this: I've heard a lot of people, they said, you know, if it is not C of O, I don't want to buy, I don't want to know about it. Even well, I can cope with the governance concept, but you know, C of O. Everybody cries C of O. It's beautiful. C of O is good, but I want to tell you some things that you need to know, and this is not to cause fear, but to tell you how you can navigate around it so that you will not be scammed. Because you need to understand when your C of O can be void, when your C of O can be revoked, when your C of O can be rubbish. Even governance concept can be rubbish in some situations. So I will be telling you concerning these situations where your C of O will not be able to rescue your property in that condition. Now, let's first of all start with title, defect in title. And when we are talking about different in title, we are talking about a problem in the transfer or ownership, in the history of transfer or ownership of the property. And I'm going to give you good examples so that you can relate to this and understand what is going on. Now, we're talking about defect in title, and we're talking about let's start with double sale, what I call double sale. This is a situation where a man sold a property to you, or let's say sold a property to another person, and gave that person deed of assignment, gave the person gave the person deed of assignment, signed a contract of sale. Then the guy was able to do the survey, and the guy went with it. But the guy did not lodge it at lands. Let's say in Lagos as a case study in Alausa. So it was not registered so as to process his C of O or governance concept, as the case may be. So this guy bought this land from this man, and the man and the guy, let's use guy A that bought it, went his way without doing anything to further solidify the document. So now you came into the scene, and the same guy that sold the land to another person sold the same land to you and gave you deed of assignment, then you went ahead with your deed of assignment, you did your survey plan, then you lodge it at the lands in Alausa. And so it was processed, then you were given the C of O, or we call it the Almighty C of O, or the governor's consent. And you are happy, you're good about it, until the guy that was first of all, the land was first of all sold to show up, and there was a contest, dispute on that land. And you guys, you find yourself before the law. You know what the law would say is that your C of O does not stand. And the reason is that the guy had already signed off both the ownership and his right to the first guy. Even though the guy did not lodge it, but that means that the moment the guy signed off his ownership and right, he does not have any land again. So what is signed for you, what you took in your hand and you think you bought a land, is no land. It's like anybody building a house on a thing here. It's nothing. It's 0 times 0 times 0 times 0 times 0 is nothing, because the guy had already forfeited the ownership and the right to another person. So he didn't have any right again on that property. So if you buy that and you think you have a CFO and you have a governor's consent, then you will forfeit that property, because the guy that sold it to you did not have that right again, having signed it out for another person or to another person. You get that? That is the first situation where your almighty CFO will be rubbished and will be null and void. Now, the second one is joint ownership. In a case of joint ownership, let's say this land was owned by Mr. and Mrs., the husband and the wife. And, it was joint owned by them. And the husband happened to know you and sold the land to you without the consent, the agreement, the signature, or the sign off from the wife. And since you thought that, since it's Mr. and Mrs. and they are still living together, the husband and wife, that means that theoretically you can buy it. So you buy or you bought this land and you begun your process. You were able to get your C of O. Now the woman now stood and said she did not know about it and she didn't want to sell. And the guy has taken your money and spent it. So when you appear before the Lord, the truth is that since it's a joint venture, it's a joint ownership, it's a co-ownership, one person cannot sign it off. Maybe when the guy was signing your deed of assignment, it was the only one that signed. And when you saw Mr. and Mrs. as the owner of property, you believe that two has become one, and not in the presence of the law, especially when it comes to joint ownership. So you bought it, you went ahead and did your C of O or governor consent. Then the situation is that it is now null and void. It means that you are forfeiting that property, except you go and bear the woman and have to pay something. You settle it out of court, or you will lose the property, even with C of O. I think you're learning something, and I'm going to tell you the reason why I'm saying this, because I've heard a lot of people coming up and feeling cool that they have C of O, and later on they find out that there are a lot of things that came up and they have to lose the property. So I'm giving you this so as to know that it exists a situation where you've been losing out gallantly, and how you can afford this, how you can prevent it from happening. And I will be telling you at the end of this show. Now, so I talked about double sale. I talked about joint ownership. Now, I want to talk about ripple effect defect on the title. Ripple effect defect on the title. And this is a real case. A man sold a land that had defect in title. Maybe let's talk about joint ownership. It was supposed to be co-owned by some other set of people, and this guy single-handedly took it upon himself and sold the thing out to you. Okay, to another person. Let's say another person. He sold it out to A. Now, A went ahead and worked on it and was able to get his almighty C of O. And the guy was feeling cool. And later on, the guy now sold it to you. And you worked on it, you took it to Alausa, then you were able to get your governor's consent. Now, dispute started. Argument arose. Problem broke loose. You find yourself before the court. What will happen? This is ripple effect defect in title. The foundation is faulty. Therefore, any house you build on it, no matter how strong, how solid the house is, if the foundation is faulty, according to the scripture, what can the righteous do? So, what are we saying? It doesn't matter whether you transfer this house again and again and again and again to the 10th person, and everyone were able to get governor's consent. But because in the beginning, it was not so. Allow me to use scripture. In the beginning, it was not so. There was a defect in this title because it does not belong to the guy. It belongs to some people. So what will happen is that all of you that bought it after one another, you are good if you sell it to another person. But the last person that is holding on to it, maybe the 10th person, is going to forfeit it. Because in the beginning, there was no contract. In the beginning, the selling does not exist. So you need to understand what you are doing when it comes to your CFO and your property. So I've told you of defect in title. Another way that you can lose your property despite having a CFO is when there's a forged land coordinate. And I'm going to explain this to you. You know, the coordinate has the esprit of your land. Because the coordinate is as a result, every land in the world has a coordinate, as where it exists on because of the latitude, longitude, and latitude. If you can still remember your mass. So every land can be traced. Every land can be located because of the coordinate. And no two land has the same coordinate number. That's just it. So let's say these guys, and it happens around Ibeju. It happens around not this one doesn't happen much in the mainland. It happens along this Ibeju, what do you call it? Aja area, where you find out that some guys, they've been able to forge a coordinate, and they will go to Alausa, and two things may happen. Because normally, when a survey plan is lodged at Alausa, it is a due diligence, or one of the due diligence that they do is that they have to trace that land and check and affirm that the coordinates are okay. So sometimes it may be an oversight from Alausa, sometimes it may be deliberate because of corruption. They just refuse to carry out due diligence and they want it done quickly. You know, sometimes it takes months for registered survey to be approved. But, you know, because of money, it was approved quickly without due diligence, you know. And there you are. The land was sold to you. After that, you began to build on this land. It is said that when it is discovered that your coordinate is forged, you're going to lose that land and property. And I'm going to explain more. Because, you know, when you stand on the land, if you have an SSTOVIO on your land, you'll be able to chart it right from that place chart it, and know whether this land is under acquisition, is an acquired land that is committed, or is a decision whether that means that government has released it, or is a free land. You understand? So you will be able to know the history and the history of that land. But lo and behold, is a forged coordinate of another land that exists that is not under government encumbrances. So when you take it to Alausa to check it out, it will be recorded that it exists and is a genuine one. But the coordinate, when it's flashed, maybe you are in Ibeju. Now the thing is telling you Shagam, or it's telling you right inside Ikeja, that land, that coordinate is right inside Ikeja. That means that you've been duped. And if you don't know on time and you've started building on it, you're going to forfeit that property. Your C of O cannot help you because it is a forged coordinate. And yes, sometimes you can begin to do ratification if the land is not under acquisition, you understand. But another thing may happen. Maybe during that time, the land fell under government acquisition and they are in need of it. Because when the governor is looking at it, he's seeing that the land is free and is under his acquisition. He may just decide that this is what we're doing on it. And you have already built on it, then you will lose your property. There's no way you can keep your property in such situation. Now, that is when you have a forged land coordinate. And that's why you have to be careful. When you are buying land, you need to understand what is going on. Don't just relax that you have a C of O, because a C of O will not save you against the law. Hey, my dear sister, you're welcome. Thank you for joining. So the next thing, and that's Mrs. Yusuf. Am I right? I think I'm right. Okay. So now, the next one is when you have a property under dispute or litigation. Sorry. When you have a property under dispute or litigation, and one of the guy, why the thing is still in court, one of the guy happened to be smart, and the guy sold it, and you got hold of the land, and what do? You process your C of O, the almighty C of O. And you thought you have a land. Really, you felt, yes, I'm cool with this, and this is okay. Goodbye. Oh, yeah, good title document. But now, it happens that the court ruled against the person that sold the land to you as not being the owner of the land. So the ownership does not belong to him. So if you bought from that guy, you are on a long thing. You are going to lose your property. Except you settle it out of court, you have to pay, you're going to pay twice. So that's just it. If your land is under dispute, you don't want to go near. You understand? Because it is a two-way. It can be for your person or against your person. So that is another scenario. And another scenario is when a property is under mortgage. They've taken loan with your property. Yeah, and it happens if you get to Ikeja, you get to Surulere. I won't say most, please, let me correct myself. Some of these guys, along the way, they've used their property to stand as a collateral for a loan. And while you didn't know, they've sold the land to you. And what will happen is that they will never be able to show you the original of the C of O. They will never be able to show you. They will have a photocopy and they will show you and tell you that this land is theirs. And the truth is that when you go to Alausa to check it, you will know the land exists and is their home. But lo and behold, behind your back, this property has been used for a loan. And maybe they were not able to redeem the loan. And the bank, or what we call the ANCOM, will process the land. Whether your property is on it, whether you have skyscraper on it, it will be processed. It's either you take your property off, but the land will be possessed by AMCON. And that's why sometimes you will see on the wall that this land or this house is possessed by AMCON. Sometimes when court case is going on, they will write it on the wall that so, and they will give you the file case of the situation. They will write it on the wall and tell you that there's a court case on this, buyers beware. I told you about buyers beware. But one time is that some people have seen it happening. Some people will go and paint it. They will paint it off. After a while, they will paint it off. And you will not know that there is a dispute on it. Or sorry, there's a mortgage on it. So, if the guy is not able to pay back, your property will be forfeited, even with your C of O. So C of O is not the solution to land in every area. And I'm going to tell you how you can escape this as an investor and as a buyer. So now another thing that could happen is that the land may have a court rule. There's some title that will say court rule. So it may have a court rule, and the court rule may be high court. I think we have I've forgotten the first one, the customary court. I've forgotten, but I know high court, then Supreme Court. So this guy has a rule for him that is going for him in the high court. So high court said he is the owner of the land, and quickly he sold the land to you, and you went ahead and prepared a C of O, the almighty C of O. And you thought you have something good, a good document. Now, this guy that was fighting with another guy, the other guy appealed the thing and took it to the Supreme Court. Yes, there is appeal court, there is Supreme Court. Yeah, I think I'm getting it now. So, High Court, Appeal Court, Supreme Court. Okay, it went to the Appeal Court. Your man won again. But when it came to the almighty Supreme Court now, the judgment was ruled against your seller and was given to who? The other guy. So the Supreme Court says he's the owner, and that is the highest court in Nigeria, and there's nothing you can do. If the Supreme Court says he is the owner, there's nothing you can do. So the guy comes to you and possesses the land because your man has lost in court. So you don't want to buy a property that has dispute or has a court case on. You want to stay away. Let me tell you something you need to notice. If you are in an environment and you see you want to buy a piece of land, and you looked at your left, you find out that there's a court case going on, written on that one's wall. You looked at your far hand, there's a court case. Almost every corner around you, there's a court case. And they tell you that your land is free. Don't believe them. Don't even think of believing them. You need to do your due diligence. You can't just say, okay, well, because I'm not seeing anything around that is written. Because sometimes if the property does not have a fence, they will not be able to write anything. How will you know? So I want to go to how you will know. So these are the scenario where your C of O will be rubbish and your property will be taken right before your eyes. How do you prevent this thing from happening? The number one way is that you have to consult a property lawyer when you want to buy. You have to consult a surveyor when you want to buy. Let me tell you something. Days are gone when you take advice from the Baba in that area, and the Baba tells you that, oh mommy, don't worry, go ahead. There's no problem. There is. That is why they call it buyers beware. You have to be careful. And let me tell you something. Don't use your brother to do what a lawyer is supposed to do. Don't use your relations to do what a surveyor supposed to do. Don't sell it short. It's like when you get to the hospital and you need to do a surgery, and they told you the doctor is not around, then you look at a nurse and say, well, you can carry, at least you work here, so you can carry an operation on me. That is crazy. It's like when you are building a house and you have what do you call it? A carpenter doing his work, and you need something that is electrical. And he says, well, since you belong to the same move, carpenter come and do the work of electrical in my house, you're going to get shocked. And that's just it. So please don't, I am a person that advocates, don't shortchange yourself, don't cut corners, go and see the right person. What do you call it? A realtor is not a surveyor, is not a property lawyer. Please stop giving what is not to them. They can do a little bit because of their understanding and their knowledge, but they cannot go in depth, because these cases that I mentioned, the property lawyers know how to investigate it. They know how to dig it out, to check the transfer and the ownership history, and begin to root it out right from the root. You can only, a realtor, a developer can only do things on the surface. A property lawyer will go down to the depth, to the roof. A surveyor will chart the coordinate of the land right from where he is. So you cannot say, okay, I don't want to pay. I've paid so much for the land. I want to cut all these surveyors. Yeah, they are not necessary. They are necessary. I'm telling you, they are necessary. And let me tell you something. Most of the property lawyers that I know, what they are doing is damage control. Because a lot of people will not involve them when they ought to have been involved in the beginning. It is when there is trouble and catalog box, that is when they will call property lawyer, and they will not be doing damage control. I don't want to lose this land. I must win this case. And all these things, a stitch in time, they say saves nine. All these things can be avoided. All these things can be avoided. So I'm giving you my own piece of advice. I've stopped doing the work of a property lawyer, though I know things when it comes to that area in real estate. I know a little bit of surveyor and all survey and all these things, but I cannot do it as someone that went and paid money for school. Suffer strike in Nigerian university, came out with degree, and you are now saying that you should change. It is not going to work. And let me tell you, the first reason. The reason why I'm here today, is because recently we are discussing with someone, and this guy was screaming C of O, and he has been duped 3 times because of land. First time, shame on the person that duped him. Second time, shame on you, because you're supposed to have learned. So there's something he's not doing right. There's something he's not getting at all. You understand? So that is why I came prepared, and I want to tell you, don't just rely on, okay, CFO, the moment the CFO is okay and all those stuff. You still need to do a background check. You still need to do a digging. And let me tell you something, a lot of people are sitting on gunpowder. They are just an inch to losing their homes, their house, and they don't know. And they think it's just a small matter. But they have lost from the beginning because there is a defect in the title. You understand? So please share with someone. It's going to help someone. It's going to save someone's money. It's going to save someone headache. I know people that grew old one night because of land problems. Some people die because of land problems. But it can be avoided through knowledge. I always say this: a scammer know a little bit above what you know, and you may be negligent, and you may be negligent, and you may be greedy. Because sometimes when you see a land, they say this land has a C of O, and is being sold at a ridiculous price. You know how much people collect C of O in Alausa? So you cannot just rely on all those things and say, well, it's cheap. I bought a good land. Man, you are sitting on a long thing. So at this time, I believe I've been able to say one or two things, and I want to encourage you. Share it with someone. Understand this thing. Talk about it with someone. And if you need further consultation, I'm here for you. I will give it to you, guide you the way it's supposed to be. So at this point in time, I want to wish you a happy weekend. Have a nice time.